Divers in the water.
On Beyond Oak Island.
Samuel Bellamy became one of the most successful pirates of the time.
This is the only verified pirate treasure in the world.
On the screen, and we see what clearly could be a ship, and then all of a sudden we all kind of realize that there could be two.
The wealthiest of all ships to sail throughout the world.
Imagine a ship loaded with the wealth of an entire pirate fleet, swallowed by the sea in a single night. That was the fate of the Whydah Gally. For centuries, its location was a mystery. But now, armed with advanced technology and an unshakable belief,
Love it. Sing, baby, sing.
a crew of explorers is closing in on the wreck, ready to uncover the truth. The ghostly signal. The air crackled with anticipation. Just off the shores of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, where the Atlantic's waves endlessly batter the coastline, a sound pierced the rhythmic hum of the salvage boat's engine. It was the high-pitched squeal of a metal detector, a sound that for this crew was more valuable than gold itself. Below the churning surface, salvage diver Brandon Clifford had just gotten a hit.
Both on that same 360 heading, going north, pointing straight towards the stone triangle on the shore and the money pit.
This wasn't just any random piece of metallic debris. The location and the nature of the signal suggested something far more significant. The team was hunting for ghosts, specifically the ghost of the Whydah Gally, an 18th-century pirate ship that vanished beneath the waves in a monstrous storm back in 1717. What they found buried beneath the sand would change everything we thought we knew about pirate history. The Whydah wasn't just any pirate ship. It was the flagship of the infamous pirate captain Black Sam Bellamy, a man known as the Prince of Pirates. When it sank, it took with it the combined loot from over 50 other vessels, a treasure hoard so vast its value is almost impossible to calculate in today's money.
Quite literally, we're talking about billions of dollars in treasure.
Untold millions, perhaps even $1 billion, in gold, silver, ivory, and priceless artifacts were lost to the sea that fateful night. For the crew on the surface, including the legendary treasure hunter Lagina, finding artifacts from the Whydah was a sacred mission. These objects weren't just treasure, they were tangible pieces of history, fragments of a story that had been silenced by the ocean for over 300 years. Down below, Brandon Clifford moved with the practiced calm of a professional. The water was murky, visibility was low, and the currents were a constant, invisible force. He was not just a treasure hunter, he was a meticulous underwater archaeologist. His craft demanded precision. Every potential find had to be documented with painstaking care for the historical record. He noted the coordinates, 210 degrees.
13 feet, 210 degrees from the pounder.
He got confirmation from the surface. Roger that, got it. The first potential artifact was logged, but the detector continued to sing its song. Another hit just 13 feet away at 250 degrees.
13 feet at 250 degrees.
The seabed here was alive with possibilities, a scattered trail of breadcrumbs left by Bellamy's doomed crew. The difficulty of this work cannot be overstated. Finding small objects on the vast sandy ocean floor is like searching for a needle in a haystack the size of a state. Everything seems to blend together in the muted blue-green light. Sand and silt cover everything, camouflaging history in a blanket of monotony. Brandon had to tap into the environment, to feel the subtle shifts in the seabed, to let his experience guide his eyes and hands. He was in a state of intense concentration, his entire being focused on the singular job of plucking history from the jaws of the sea. He swept his detector over another patch of sand and the signal screamed again, louder this time, more insistent. He knew with a certainty that sent a jolt of adrenaline through him that he was onto something big. He carefully brushed away the sand, his heart pounding in his chest. The shape that emerged was small and metallic, but it was undeniably man-made.
You're gonna like this, Nettie.
He signaled to the surface, his voice steady despite the excitement coursing through him. "Artifact," he reported. The reply was immediate. "Roger that." A feeling of triumph washed over him. After a long haul over the past couple of days with little to show for it, this felt good. This felt right. But as he secured the first object, his light caught the glint of something else lying right next to it,
Oh, wow.
look at that.
Wow, that's beautiful.
almost touching. It was another piece of the puzzle, another voice from the past waiting to speak. The ocean was vast and the targets were small, but the team's belief was unwavering. This wasn't just a random scatter field, they were convinced they were in a hot zone, a place where a significant portion of the Whydah's treasure had come to rest. The discovery of not one, but two artifacts in such close proximity was a monumental sign. It was validation. It was proof that their theories, their research, and their relentless effort were finally paying off. Brandon secured the second object and began his slow ascent to the surface, carrying with him two pieces of a centuries-old mystery.
Because in just that short last dive, they pulled out two incredible artifacts.
The journey back to the boat was filled with a buzzing energy. Both Brandon and his dive partner were electric with excitement. For them, this was more than a job. It was a childhood dream brought to life. Diving on a wreck of this magnitude, a wreck tied to the golden age of piracy, was the pinnacle of their careers. And the items they were bringing up could be a monumental find, the kind of discovery that rewrites history books. As they broke the surface, all eyes on the boat were fixed on them, waiting to see what secrets the ocean had finally decided to give up. But as the first artifact was lifted from the water and into the daylight, a hush fell over the crew, for what they saw was far more intricate and personal than they could have ever hoped for. The pirate's pistol. The first object lay carefully on the deck of the boat, leaning toward the sun. It was small, ornate, and beautifully crafted. A wave of awe washed over the crew. Lagina leaned in closer, his eyes wide with disbelief. It was an escutcheon plate, a decorative metal adornment from the side of a pistol. It was curved slightly, designed to fit perfectly against the wooden stock of a firearm from the period. The craftsmanship was undeniable. It was clearly from the era, a delicate and intricate piece of artistry that had somehow survived 300 years in the brutal, corrosive salt water. This was not just a random piece of the ship. This was personal. This was a piece of a weapon. Something a pirate would have carried on his person, a tool of his trade and a symbol of his identity. Handheld pistols, dating back to the mid-1500s, were originally single-shot weapons. They were composed of a metal barrel and trigger mechanism set into a wood frame and handle. In the highly competitive and often flamboyant world of piracy, a man's weapon was an extension of his personality. Ornate decorations like this escutcheon plate were common, a way to add a touch of personal flair to a deadly instrument. The question hung in the air, unspoken, but on everyone's mind: who did this pistol belong to? Could it have been the property of one of Black Sam Bellamy's ordinary crew members?
This was a piece of a weapon. It would go on decoratively to the side of the weapon, and it is curved in that way.
Or, and this was the thought that sent a shiver down everyone's spine, could this have come from a pistol that belonged to Captain Bellamy himself? The implications were staggering. Finding a personal item of the captain would be an extremely important discovery, a direct link to the man at the center of the legend. This small piece of metal needed to be investigated, conserved, and studied. It had a story to tell, a story about the men who lived and died on board the Whydah Gally. It is truly amazing that in the vast, churning expanse of the ocean, a piece so small and delicate could be found at all. It was a testament to the team's skill and persistence. You don't find things like this every day. It was an incredible find, a one-in-a-million shot. But the excitement was about to double. Brandon pointed to the second artifact bag. He had found something else, something that would erase any doubt about where these artifacts had come from. He carefully opened the bag and tipped the contents out. What fell onto the deck was not another piece of a weapon. It was something far more direct, something that spoke the universal language of treasure. It was a silver coin, but it wasn't just any coin. Brandon identified it immediately. It was a Mexican 8-reel, a piece of 8.
It's a Mexican 8 real. So it's 1 ounce. It's from Mexico.
Specifically, it was a 1-ounce silver coin from a Mexican mint. This was it. This was the proof. This was, without a shadow of a doubt, honest-to-goodness pirate treasure. The coin was a real sign of what was to come in this area. It validated the belief held by treasure hunter Brandon Clifford for decades that this specific location was a hot zone, a primary debris field from the wreck. In one short dive, the team had pulled up two incredible artifacts that completely changed the game. But the condition of the silver coin was the most important clue of all. Lagina gently picked it up, turning it over and over in his fingers. A gasp went through the crew. There was no damage on it at all. It was perfect. The coin was shiny and clean, as if it had just been made yesterday, not over 300 long years ago. This was a super important piece of the puzzle. Truth be told, it meant that this was the very first time the coin had seen the light of day or felt the ocean water since the night the pirate ship sank. For all that time, it had been buried deep under the sand, protected in a special place where no air could get to it. This was a really, really good clue. Think about it like this. When metal objects lie on the ocean floor for a long time, the water and the air in it make them change. A hard, rocky shell of sand and crushed shells starts to grow all over them, almost like cement. This is called concretion. Most of the other artifacts found in the area were covered in this lumpy, crusty stuff. They looked like weird ocean rocks, and it was hard to even tell what they were at first. But this coin was different. This coin was clean. It had been completely safe and undisturbed for 300 years. That was the clue that truly made the team feel electric with excitement. It told them something amazing. They were not just finding single, scattered pieces that had been tossed around by storms for centuries. Instead, the coin's perfect condition told them that it had just been uncovered by the shifting sands. It was like finding a fresh footprint in the mud. It meant they were incredibly close to the main spot where the ship crashed down. They were on the verge of finding the primary wreck site, the main pile of treasure that had been sealed away in a sandy tomb for centuries, hidden from everyone. This spot hadn't been picked over or disturbed. It was fresh. The discovery of the pistol plate was incredible because it was so deeply personal. You could almost feel the phantom grip of the pirate who once held it, a man whose story was lost to the sea. It was a direct human link to the past. But the perfect, shiny condition of the silver coin was the hard, undeniable proof the team desperately needed. It was more than a clue. It was a giant, blinking arrow pointing directly down into the sand, screaming, "Dig here!" The coin's flawless gleam was the scientific fact that turned years of hope into sudden certainty. All their theories, all their expensive efforts were about to pay off in the biggest way imaginable. This single, clean coin meant there was more, so much more, lying just beneath their feet, waiting to be rediscovered. The search was no longer about finding a needle in a haystack. They had found the needle, and its pristine condition confirmed that the entire haystack was buried right underneath it. They weren't hunting for scattered loose change anymore. They were now hunting for the bank vault itself, the heavy chests of gold and silver that sank straight down and were swallowed by the sand. As the team celebrated this monumental breakthrough, a wave of pure joy and relief washed over them. They felt they were on top of the world, believing the coin's perfect condition was its most important secret. They had no idea, however, that the coin held another, far more startling secret. As they examined it closer, they saw the tiny, deliberate marks stamped into the silver. These weren't just random scratches. They were a language of their own, telling the story of the coin's journey across the world before it fell into a pirate's hands. The little symbols could connect their find not just to the Whydah Gally, but to the vast, shadowy network of global trade and plunder that defined the entire golden age of piracy. These finds rewrite the history of the Whydah Gally, but with so much treasure still lost, does it truly belong to the finders or to the world? Like and subscribe to uncover more secrets.